This is a first for us to be fully WebEx as they're doing some repairs in our council chambers. So thank you all for joining us via the computer today. Because we are virtual, Alex, can you or Ashley, somebody needs to read our electronic meeting requirement, I believe.
I can do that. While I'm here, let me go ahead and state also that so we talked before a little bit about the governor's executive order and how it allows us to meet electronically. So there's a vote that you all have to have for that. But I also want to point out that the governor's executive order had some changes after October 1st. For electronic meetings. And in essence, what it did is it kind of clarified one behavior that you all are already doing with virtual meetings, which is making sure you do roll call. The second, however, is that someone who is observing this being live streamed, which it has to be now, anyone who's observing it has to be able to reasonably tell who is speaking. So what that means is that if you do not have your camera posted, then when you want to address the body, you should identify yourself first each time you do it. And that may be cumbersome to those who don't have the camera feature up, but it's one of those things that we don't want to run afoul of the order. So I just ask to either pop your camera up so it's clear that when your mouth is moving, you're talking, or if you hop off mute and you don't have a camera, that you identify yourself as you're speaking. And if I jump in to interject to say that you need to identify yourself, don't take it personally. It's just me trying to make sure we have a good record and that we're abiding by the governor's executive order. So the motion that needs to be moved is that that meeting electronically is necessary for the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak, and that the proposed agenda constitutes essential business.
So moved. Seconded.
Okay, Mary Jo, I think you just go ahead and take the roll call vote for that then.
Okay. And I am switching over. I did not have good audio. Sorry. I will try to step back. Okay. Thank you for that. Roll call. Do we have Sarah Finley?
Yes, I'm here.
Councilmember Gamble?
Are you taking the vote or are you just taking the roll call? Because we still need to take the vote, the ayes and nays for the electronic meeting motion.
Thank you. That's,
Okay.
let me start back. We will be voting on the electronic meeting. Sarah Finley?
Aye.
Councilmember Gamble?
Aye.
Ed Henley? Do we have Edward? Okay. Sean Henry?
It says he's on here.
Okay.
It says Ed is on here. Sean is not able to be here.
Okay.
Ed's on mute still, so he might just inadvertently not have hit that button.
Edward, do you want to try to unmute?
Minority and women-owned business, I guess virtual meet and greet. I was trying to hit it by the very end of October.
Okay. We'll keep going. Do we have Councilmember Johnston?
Aye.
Representative Harold Love?
He's going to be late.
Okay. Von Daniel?
Aye.
Junad Odebeko?
Aye.
And Councilmember Sepulveda?
Aye.
Excellent. All right, we have motion for our electronic meeting. Thank you all. Okay, so I did send an email, so hopefully you all have our agenda in front of you. And the first thing on our agenda, this came a little bit later. I had to actually print and scan the United Way report, but hopefully you all have that now in your email. So on the call with us, we also have Erica Mitchell from United Way. And I will turn it over to you, Erica, to go through our most recent charity tracker report.
Thanks so much, Mary Jo, and thank you everyone for having me this morning, or I guess this afternoon now. Let me do a little bit of walkthrough of the report. I'll give a very high level and happy to take any questions that the council may have. So just in terms of looking at that categories tab, what you'll see is that the total assistance to clients is just over $1.3 million. You'll see that 844 individual households have been served, representing 1,716 total family members. Most of our individuals, according to our service providers, are definitely being helped out with past due rent payments to avoid evictions. If you scan down to the demographics tab, what you'll see, it tells us a little bit more about the clients who have received assistance to date. I do think it's worth noting that the demographics served continue to grow and broaden week over week with a continued growing representation of diverse community members. To give a little bit more information on that, if you take a look at our heat map, you'll see that thus far most of the clients served reside in the southeast, the north quadrants of the city, as well as in East Nashville. The zip code data gives you a deeper dive into that data. You can see from the zip codes that the most heavily represented zip codes in terms of the number of individuals served, along with the dollars distributed, are primarily in the Southeast region. The agency tab will show you all the agencies that have received funding to this point. We had our fourth round of funding Friday, September 25th. We have a total of 39 organizations that are providing services for this fund. And we will hold at that number. What we will do for the additional dollars that need to be distributed, we will use that existing list of 39 agencies to finish getting the dollars out. So just again, kind of general overview, $6.5 million has gone out to those 39 agencies. $1.3 million has been distributed out to clients. And of the remaining $10 million, we have $3,497,641 left to distribute. So just kind of general feedback that we've been receiving from service providers, again, emphasis on rent and back payments, avoiding of evictions. I did want to note as well that we have had a conversation this week with NES, and we will be working in partnership with them to assist clients of theirs with past due utility bills. And so I just had that conversation earlier this week. And so we'll be working with them in terms of pushing out information so that their customers who are behind on payments can utilize one of the agencies that has received CARES funding so that they will be able to offset their past due expenses. So a lot of partnerships that are happening with throughout the city as well with some of the nonprofit organizations, and just grateful to be able to do this work. And I will say on behalf of the organizations that are serving, there is an immense amount of gratitude to Metro for making the funds available to be able to help people in their homes. So I will stop there and glad to entertain any questions. I see a question from Courtney Johnston.
Hi, thank you. When someone applies for assistance for rent or utility relief, from the time that the application is completed, about how long does it take for that bill to be paid? Do you have an average?
So it will vary a bit depending upon the organization and the number of customers obviously ahead of that individual. Once an application has been received and the proper documentation for eligibility has been verified, that nonprofit service provider then makes the contact with, say, the landlord or with NES to verify, and then that bill is paid immediately. It's going to vary again. It will take a few days for that to happen, but again, kind of varies by organization.
So would you say a fair assessment would be roughly within a week from the time the application is started and completed, that within a week that bill could be paid?
That has been, I've heard that from some of our organizations. For some, it's faster. And again, it just depends on which organization that you're working with and the current wait list that they have ahead of them. I've talked to some organizations that receive 500 applications on a Monday and literally close down for a few days so that they can process that 500, and then they get to the next batch of 500 the following Monday. So it just depends again on organization, but that's a safe and fair assessment.
Gotcha. I did have some feedback for the website. I think we all probably agree that outreach is super important right now, and that all of us could probably do a better job. One of the things that I did, especially with NES, was reach out to their communications group to request that they add in their monthly bills, in the inserts, I'm hoping people read those, that about the information, like if you're having trouble paying this bill specifically, right, that here's to call 211, because I'm trying to keep it really simple. So what she did was she called 211, and it led her to a website. So then the website was like, okay, well, wait a minute, let me write that down type thing. So then when she went to the website, she's like, it doesn't show anything. I had to walk her through it. I think, I know y'all have done some improvements to it. I think maybe we could make it a little bit more user friendly. And we don't need to get into the weeds about that now, but I just want to make it as easy to navigate as possible, as you cannot miss this information. You can't, you know what I mean? So I don't know who is in charge of that. I'm happy to kind of walk through some of the ideas that I have, and I don't want to take up the committee's time. But I do think we have some room for improvement on the website itself, and then for our outreach as well, just as a committee and council. So.
No, that's very helpful, and I'll definitely take that back to our marketing team. And I know that there are a lot of resources that are available right now. So we have a little bit of the competing space for providing information for state cares and for Metro cares and other COVID response relief efforts. But let me definitely, and I'd love to talk with you offline, Courtney,
sure,
just to get some of your thoughts and feedback about how we can make it even clearer.
Absolutely, thank you.
Erica, I've got a question.
Yes.
So just to kind of step back a little bit, and I appreciate all the data, but just trying to get a sense of the impact of these funds and what they are doing, and then what they may not be doing. I know that there's been this strange suspension of evictions that has been a little confusing to a lot of people. But when we have the pipeline of people needing this type of assistance, are we bringing them current, or are we trying to just help them some, and then the next month there's going to be another need? Is the pipeline overflowing? Just kind of give us a general sense of what you think this is doing in the community in terms of helping people with their rent.
That's a fantastic question, and one that we call them the Financial Assistance Network. So all of the partners who are a part of this work meet weekly on a call to talk about various situations, and this came up very early in the process. And so the question was about, are we helping people take care of what's past due, or are we looking ahead towards stabilization? And the idea was, it's important for us to stabilize families. And so as a general body, this Financial Assistance Network has been providing payment for past due bills, but also payment for the next month as well, so that families can be stable and give them the additional opportunity to continue to seek employment and to get back on their feet financially.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I see a question from Jennifer Gamble.
Yes, thank you, Erica, and thank you all so much for the work that you are doing and increasing the community partners that will help distribute the funding. It looks like you all started out with about 12, and over the last couple of weeks added 23 more agencies. In fact, one of the agencies, the Health Center, is in my district, and very appreciative that they were included as one of the distributing agencies. My question is, do you think that the 39 you have now is adequate to address all areas of the city? Because one of the things that we know is that many of the people that are needing assistance, this is the first time, maybe the first time in their lives that they are in a position where they're needing assistance, and they don't know where to go to get that assistance. One of the things that the Help Center is doing is produce a flyer, an electronic flyer, saying that they are a part of this Metro Cares program and what to do, how to call them or to get assistance. Are you all encouraging all of the distributing partners to do that? And do you think that that 39 now is, you're in a good place where we have it spread out enough across the city where individuals will be able to find help?
So, question, one of the things that we noticed, even with I guess from the beginning of the pandemic back in March, we noticed that a number of the people who were coming to service organizations, agencies seeking help were people who had never engaged with the social services system before. And so there's a lot of fear in that. You know, there are a lot of questions. They're not as knowledgeable, don't exactly know how to go about doing it. And so we've seen that throughout the pandemic. One of the reasons that we did open it up to this 39 organizations is the reach across the community, as well as the trust and the relationship that these organizations have with community members. And so it takes a lot of the fear factor out. If someone is working with an organization that is in their community, it's known, they know the people who work there, the relationships are there. And we feel really good about that. Also, we're starting to that about $1 million has gone out. And so starting to see the rapid to pick up a bit in terms of meet the need and the number of individuals served. And so we think that will only increase in the coming weeks. So, but yes, to your question just about breadth and depth, really important that pay off in very positive ways.
Thank you. And I think it's great that you all are also partnering with the churches, because that I think will help provide more outreach as well, partnering with the churches. So thank you.
Councilwoman Sepulveda.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for this information. I see the number in Southeast has gone quite up, and so I am really thankful for that, and the number of Hispanic families that are being helped. So thank you. I guess my only question is how, if you all plan to add more agencies to receive funding, or is this going to be it?
So we made a decision to, after this last round of funding, the fourth round of funding, that we would hold with the 39 agencies that have currently received funding. And that's for a couple of different reasons. One, it takes a little bit of time to get those agencies up and kind of going in the process. And we've got a good number of agencies that have a broad reach into multiple communities. And we're very pleased with what we see in terms of their ability to reach and connect. So we think, particularly given the time frame that we have right now, that we have the right number of organizations that will be able to expend the funding, as well as provide the broad reach that we're looking for.
Got it. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Are there any other questions that I can answer? I see a question from Courtney Johnston.
Sorry, it's not really a question. I just wanted to make sure. I know that MDHA had received $1.4 million from HUD, and they are getting ramped up with Charity Tracker, but I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that they do have funds for this same purpose, and so that we can communicate with them just like we're communicating with the other partner agencies to prevent that duplication.
And I believe, does Councilwoman Sepulveda, do you have a question as well? Okay. All right, Mary Jo, I guess I'll give it back to you.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. We have had a request not only from United Way, also from Second Harvest, and an additional one of our partners in the small business I'll call network, that, the contracts currently all have a November 15th deadline for expenditures. And the funds are available through December 30th, but we have put in their contracts that we are expecting them to make these expenditures by November 15th. I think something else that the committee may want to discuss perhaps at our next meeting is maybe an extension of that date. And I just want to plant that seed today for you all to consider and think about, that we continue to allow the organizations that are already in place to have all the way through December 30th to spend those funds. But we'll talk more about that. I know United Way had reached out, as well as, like I said, Second Harvest has already asked, as well as I think it was NBIC. I don't want to, I might be wrong on that, but one of our small business partners. So I think we may want to consider for all of the contracts that we've put in place to extend to December 30th, but we can talk about that as we start to talk about the final phase of spending and what do kind of our contingency plans and things of that nature look like. I'm going to jump on the agenda, jump around just a little bit. I think Representative Love has joined us. And one of the things that I included in the email to you all was an update on small business. And so I thought you all have that press release. Representative Love, is there anything else, or maybe in addition to that press release for the change in small business? There's another opportunity for small businesses to access some of the state funds. So that's great news. And we also want to know if there's any other updates from the state level. Let's see, Representative Love, do we have you just on mute? Yes, you're still muted. Well, he may have had to step out. Okay, hopefully we'll get that update from Representative Love. We'll then go ahead. I sent you all, I'm pulling up. Electronic is not as easy as having everything in front of us. I sent you all an updated framework, and I included in that recent requests. But the other thing that we really haven't had time for in the previous last 3 weeks meetings is really a discussion of the departments. So what you'll see in the framework is we have the requests from the Metro departments. You'll see that I relocated 2 of the requests on this sheet as the request from the farmers market for small business grants and training for their vendors is a bit more for the economic welfare of our small businesses. So I relocated that to that section, as well as the Metro Arts Commission, that request for $1 million for nonprofits and arts organizations. So I didn't want you to lose sight of those. They've just been relocated in the framework. And below that, you then see the 3 that have come in for Metro Arts Commission, for Adventure Science, the Global Platform Technology, and Music Cares. So just a little bit of housekeeping. You have those 3 applications from the 3 new ones. But I think maybe before we talk about 3 new ones, we may want to go ahead and start a little bit of a discussion on the requests that have come through our own Metro departments. And just to open it up, I did have discussions with the administration earlier this week. We are still looking to preserve the 27.3. There is still a focus on making sure that we can address really the human impact that this pandemic has had. And so as we attempt to preserve the 27.3 that we have left, we also, I think, discussed last week that we can develop a bit of a contingency plan that if we get more funding, or if the date is extended, or if the date is not extended, that we can start to put some of those plans in place. So I think in the spirit of, keeping discussions moving forward, we do want to consider what was presented to us by the department.
Hey, Mary Jo, can I ask just a few kind of basic questions sort of before we kind of go into any specifics?
Absolutely.
So the first goes back to your comment, and obviously we have the press release about some additional relief for small businesses. One thing that struck me, I remember particularly when the music venues, when the Alliance was speaking to us, how they had not heard of the state's availability of funds, which really tended to be automatic based on application according to the state tax rolls. And I guess my question is, what is the status of our small business partnerships in terms of the contracts? And are we getting word out about this additional $50 million in addition to reaching out? Because just knowing how what we've already approved is working, just an update on that. That would be my first question. And then the second question is a bit unrelated, but I know there's been some publicity around FEMA saying that certain expenses associated with the schools were not eligible, whether or not that impacts anything that we have in front of us.
Yes, those are excellent questions. Thank you. And so a quick update on the $5.7 million that has been approved. The biggest piece of that were the $4 million in grants that Pathway Lending will be administering. And remember, we had to take that back to council, and they approved that Tuesday evening. So yesterday we got the contracts all signed, and Pathway will have the funding. If not by the end of day tomorrow, it will hit their bank account first thing on Monday. So they have a pipeline of small businesses that they have been kind of putting in the queue and ready to address. So that was the last contract to be finalized and funded. The other 4 contracts have all been finalized and funded. And so that work is literally just starting, to really take off. In fact, I saw on the news last night, Nashville Entrepreneur Center, has launched a website and is promoting that now, as well as press releases from NBIC. We'll be doing additional press releases now that the funding is out and that we can say, they're ready to take your application. So that's a little bit of the status for our small businesses, our small business relief. I'll just say this on the state, this new funding just came out last night. So we'll be working on how to make sure that we can help the state get that word out. And probably even through our small business network that we've created to find additional funding for them also. That the grants available through Pathway Lending are not the only grants available. So that will allow these small businesses to maybe receive even more than we were able to offer. And then the second question about schools, I have been working with MNPS to get updates from them. As you recall, our original $24 million was for laptops and hotspots. And then subsequent to the mayor's office making that request that was approved by council, the state then announced a technology grant, which was going to help with roughly 1/3 of what what MNPS spent in laptops. In addition to that, just recently, MNPS has also been notified that there is a connectivity grant, which will also help with hotspots. So because of some funding from the state, the full $24 million that Metro allocated to MNPS will not be needed for just laptops and hotspots. They have identified, because of the additional state funding, there are funds as much as $10 million available with 24. We originally thought it was more along the lines of 3 or 4 million would be freed up. Because of that connectivity grant, it's really increased. So they are now continuing to look at what expenses will MNPS have that would meet the criteria of the CRF and would be incurred by December 30th. And they are going to reassess their need and make sure that it is aligned with not only eligibility, but also the desire of the committee. So they'll be bringing something back to us. Because of what you said about FEMA, so while our CRF funds are separate than FEMA, we actually are using them as puzzle pieces to put together, optimizing the most amount of dollars available. And the FEMA regulations have been amended as of September 15th that will actually reduce the amount of eligibility, particularly for schools. So while we thought that some of the expenses they would incur would be eligible for FEMA, if we have to move them into CRF reimbursement, they're doing that assessment right now. They're working on what their projected expenses, and we do have FEMA consultants that are very good to us and work with us very well, that they will help us determine what needs to be, what can be in the FEMA bucket and what needs to be covered by CRF. So there's going to be a little bit of some shuffling of expenses in those buckets that we will bring back to the committee with a kind of a revamped idea of what this $24 million will be that will be attributable to schools. And it might end up being some expenses that we originally thought would go in the FEMA bucket.
Hey, Mary Jo, one thing to add on the small business stuff for us, the link that the EC was sharing is actually for all of the nonprofits that are doing the small business stuff. So it's a one-stop shop where if everybody apply, like you can apply at one place for the next one, NDIC, they can all go to one place. They now can find that yesterday.
Yeah, and something, Ashley, that you just said is good to point out too, that the state's new round of funding includes nonprofits also. It was small business and nonprofits.
That was my next question. So in the press release, that because I didn't see that about the nonprofits, as we, well, let me say this first. As far as the small business centralized location for the EC, so Ashley, to clarify what you just stated, the EC is now the, I guess, the being selected as the hub for the small business relief outreach. Is that what you're saying?
So it looks like they have all one website together. Hang on, let me get this pulled up for you, and I'll give you the site, and I'll email it to y'all as well. But they made one site for everybody to be able to go, and I think everyone's supposed to. My understanding, is that everyone is supposed to be able to go there to get relief in one place. So it is.
So you said they made a website, or they're putting a page on their website? It's
Renew Nashville is what it's called. It's EC's got it on theirs. I haven't checked the others, but Renew Nashville is what the project is called, and everybody's logo on it, and it says you can apply at one place.
Okay, so they've established a new campaign name for the Metro Cares. It's Renew Nashville, and all of the and all of the small business relief is now information is available on this Renew Nashville website. That's not easy, because I did see a news report on Channel 4 about the Renew Nashville, and it was about the EC's program. It didn't discuss any of the small relief, business relief.
Yeah, I'll send it to you right now.
Okay, yeah, we need to clarify that, because I think it's confusing if the Renew program is the EC's program for their particular piece of the small business relief, then that's one thing. But if the Renew Nashville is what we're calling our small business Metro Cares relief and all of the partners involved with that, that's a different thing. So I think there needs to be clarification on that, because I was under the impression that Metro, when we all discussed this several weeks back, Metro would be the, I guess, the hub for all of our small business relief, our rent relief, everything, and that page would direct individuals to the separate agencies. But it sounds like that's not the case.
No, that does still exist. So this was just like if you needed to apply for the business, like the assistance part of it, not the grant from Pathway, but from the assistance part of it, then that's what's in one stop. So that way they could, you know how you guys had asked if all the organizations would work together to make sure that if somebody applied, they weren't applying to Connexion and they weren't applying to MBIC for the same amount of money, that it would all go to one place. I think this is their way to do that. So it's just the technical assistance side.
Okay. Well, I'll look forward to receiving that email because it's still a little bit confusing to me, and that's what we don't want it to be. If we can make it as streamlined as possible, that would be great. And then my second, I guess, comment is that with all due respect to the finance director and office's recommendation that we suspend further allocations and hold that $27 million, I listening to sentiment from 2 meetings ago, and I agree with that sentiment, is that I don't think that it's fair that we would just cut it off at this point, because there were several other agencies that we had presentations from and several other issues, critical issues that we discussed as a committee were important to address, including nonprofits and Metro Arts, the Metro Arts Commission. So, while we have since then heard from the departments and need to further evaluate those, we need before we go forward, we need to go all the way back to the nonprofits and the Metro Arts Commission and consider those very important needs as well, and perhaps consider a dollar amount, if that's what we need to do, that we don't want to hold back in reserve, and keep that available to address Metro Arts and nonprofits specifically. But if nonprofits can be covered with the small business, then that will definitely, with that the state is offering, that will definitely help. But looking at those issues as well, because those are some that we discussed prior to receiving the departmental request. And then second, if whatever we hold back for reserve will be quote unquote available for any referendum deficiencies, wouldn't that go to departments? And do we need to look at that as addressing departmental needs instead of whatever small amount we might consider allocating aside from what we put in reserve? I guess my question is, maybe for the committee, do we need to have a discussion about what we think is an adequate amount to put in reserve for the pending referendum, and what amount do we think we need to still consider? Because like I said, I think it's unfair that we just at this point just cut it off when we've heard from several organizations and we've discussed as a committee some of the important needs that we need to address, and now because of the recommendation from the finance office that we're just now going to cut it off? Or are we going to, as a committee, consider maybe what amount we think we need to allocate further before we designate an amount for reserve? So I guess anybody in the committee can speak to that.
And I just want to add one thing on the reserve. I think it's important. It's not just a reserve because of the referendum issue and the reduction in spending. I think one of the other really important, as you all decide on a reserve, I'd say probably even more important than that possibility is the extension of a date on what would our needs be to address the pandemic. So outside of a potential charter amendment referendum, we still will have expenses. I foresee, as a city, we are still having testing centers and probably some of the shelter related to our homeless population and other public response needs that will happen January 1. And the funds that we have left will either be available through an extension at the federal legislative level, or we could make them available to us for coronavirus by using them by December 30th in our regular FY21 budget. And what I mean by that is if we used the funds for other eligible expenditures, which include public health and public safety salaries, we would then free up general fund expenses to pay for coronavirus relief expenses. And I'm not asking for agreement to do that, but do you understand that I'm saying it's a tool that we be available? So the funds that we have can have a variety of options. They can be used for additional community relief post December 30th. They could be used to...
I mean, that's already established. So the deadline has already been extended, but we can use these funds past December 30th.
No, there has not been a change in the federal date. So if they actually extend it, then we would just continue to use them as CRF funds. If they don't extend the date, we could say take $20 million of the CRF, apply them to our public health and safety salaries, which is an eligible use of the funds, thereby freeing up $20 million of general fund that, while not intended in our budget for coronavirus relief, we would then have those funds available through our general fund expenditures. So we would be using up the CRF, but in a manner that would allow us to have funds available that were now no longer CRF, but if we have obligations that are related to coronavirus relief, we would be able to use them.
Yeah,
So
I get that.
Again,
I get that. Yeah. I mean, that's a roundabout way of just basically, so if we put that money, 20 million, for example, in reserve, and they don't extend the date, then we can use that for towards virus release up until the 30th, and then that will free up other funds from the FY21 budget. Yeah, I get that.
It's a strategy. It's all available to us if we still have the funds. If we don't, if we were to allocate the funds externally, we wouldn't have that possibility left. So
I understand that. I think we understand that, and most of us agree with that. I just, like I said, keeping the entire 27.3 million at this point, it doesn't seem to be a efficient and fair approach when we still have many needs that we have already discussed that we want to address as a committee, and maybe we need to figure out how much, whether it's 20 million that we'll reserve for the purposes that you outlined, and how much we will try to allocate through the rest of this term to December 30th, whether we know if they're going to extend that time period or not.
Can you see hands raised at all, Mary Jo?
If I switch screens, I don't see any hands raised. I have Councilmember Sepulveda and Councilmember Johnson.
So I agree with Councilor Gamble to a certain extent, especially with regard to the nonprofits, because we had a discussion before, are we gonna open up the small business relief to the nonprofits? We decided to not do that just because they're very, very different. And I think that would muddy the waters as far as qualifications, because revenue is different with nonprofits, and there's just different ways to classify it. So I think we'd all really wanted to allocate for the same purpose of a small business relief to help those businesses. We wanted to help those nonprofits. And I think we do need to discuss that. I also think that of all of the tools that we have available to us to extend our own deadline outside of the federal, and we can do that very creatively. We need to prioritize what's the best use and the most important use of these funds. I don't want to look at it as, is it fair or not, because I don't think any of this is fair, because we're having to prioritize things that It's just a terrible situation for us to be in to have to rank those type things. But there are things that are pretty critical that I would like to have a decent reserve. But I also want to go back to the MNPS thing, because we allocated that $24 million for very specific items, for laptops, hotspots, nurses, and translation fees. They have since come into more money for those exact purchases. If this was anyone else, let's say it was the Chamber of Commerce, and we allocated $100,000 to them for a specific purpose. If they had somehow come up with $50,000 from someone else for that specific purpose, we wouldn't just be like, oh, bonus for you. You got an extra $50,000, and you can decide how you want to come up with how you can spend it. So to me, I don't think that that's fair. I think this is a conversation that we need to have, is should we pull that $10 million back because those specific allocations for those specific things are being taken care of elsewhere? Because as we know, $27.3 million would be a huge amount for me personally. It is a drop in the bucket to the needs of what this county has with regard to individuals, businesses, nonprofits, departmental, our emergency response. It is nothing compared to what our need is. And if we can literally bump that up from $27 million to $37 million, without hurting anything in MPS. They still got the laptops, they still got the hotspots, they still got the nurses, they still got the translators. At that point, I think it's a prudent thing for us to do to pull those dollars back to reallocate to these other needs. And I think that's a conversation that we should have. This committee is tasked with allocating in a very fair and prudent way. At this point, if we allow them to keep that extra $10 million, MNPS is allocating those CARES Act dollars without our input. That to me is not what we were set up for.
Yeah, I will clarify that they have to bring that back to this committee, and they are aware of that they have to bring back the full request of the 24. So you will see that, and that will be the perfect opportunity to have them join one of our meetings and actually make that presentation.
Say that one more time.
They do know that they have to bring back a full request of what their needs are, I guess up to that 24 million. And that if they were short in other places, they may add those in, but they do not actually. The only piece that was authorized in the original resolution were laptops and hotspots. So for any expenditures outside of that nature, they need to bring that request to the committee so that the committee can make that recommendation to council to update that original resolution. So this committee will see an updated request from MNPS. And I think that's the perfect time to have a more robust conversation about that in that meeting. We'll have MNPS join us and present that updated list.
Okay.
Councilmember Sepulveda?
Yes. I am in the same boat as Councilwoman Gamble. I think we've had some of these organizations come to us already, and I do think that it's important that we go ahead and address arts and the farmers market. I don't know where the committee stands with that, but at least those two are important for me to go ahead and start talking about as soon as possible.
The arts I agree with. On the farmers market specifically, those businesses are eligible for the monies for our small business, plus there's state stuff now as well. And I know she said, well, we have businesses that have revenues above and beyond the $1 million. And I understand that, but there's a lot of businesses that are in Davidson County that have revenues over $1 million. why is it more important for the farmers market businesses over $1 million than a business that's outside of the farmers market over $1 million? Because we haven't helped any business over $1 million.
I'm open to bringing the farmers market people back and listening in and seeing where they are with the state's applications at this point.
And ours. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think, well, I think she said that a good number of them make over $1 million. So I don't think they apply for ours. But I think the farmers market is a little bit different. It's a little bit different for me, being that it is the farmers market. It's the Nashville farmers market, and it is a very important staple in our community and for the city. But I am completely open to having them come back and answer some more questions for us.
Yeah, I think with the opportunity at the state, I would have to confirm what their revenue thresholds are for small businesses, because that may be a new funding opportunity for farmers market businesses, as well as I like the idea of having them come back. I did receive notification that Farmers Market has received a $250,000 grant from USDA through the state of Tennessee. So it would probably be helpful for the committee to also understand what impact that has. Now, I don't believe that's going to the vendors, so I don't want to muddy the waters, but I do think maybe some clarification of listing which vendors at Farmers Market received PPP, which vendors received some of the initial state grants, which vendors qualify now for this new state grant funding, and maybe get some clarity on the request.
Mary Jo, if no one else is up next, I just wanted to weigh in. If anybody
go ahead, Sarah, and then Edward. Sorry, I see your hand, so if you'll follow right after Sarah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on a phone, so I can't see the.
I know I don't have enough screens, so I'm
okay.
quick at it.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of reiterate that I also support Councilmember Gamble's perspective. As we've talked about before, I feel like that the referendum issue and the need for reserves is critical. And I think from my perspective, it's kind of raised the bar of what we feel like is essential for us to fund presently. But I also feel like there's some serious community needs that make a big difference to Nashville. And so I feel like that, even though we may have a new filter that makes that bar a little bit higher, we have got to retain the flexibility to continue to make grants to meet the needs in the community. And I will reiterate that I feel like that a big part of our culture and identity relates to arts, relates to musicians. I know we have a new proposal. I guess, I don't know if we're going to hear from them or if we just have the written proposal, but from Music Cares. But I just feel like that we need to focus on that piece of the nonprofit world that we haven't focused on yet. And I am happy that there are some additional state resources for nonprofits generally. And I know there was a prior program of the $150 million for nonprofits generally as well.
Edward, I know you've had your hand raised for a while.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mary Jo. And again, just supporting Councilmember Gamble's position. I'm also of the mind that there should be some discussion, which I originally thought we would kind of have that early on of, we had talked about a reserve being one of the things that had been requested of our committee to consider at the very beginning. And so, we never really landed on that and never really landed on an appropriate dollar figure, and I think that's kind of where we're getting to now. But I also want to state that, I think in agreement with everyone before, I think it is still critical to look at some of the things and the resources that have been requested by our Metro department, specifically those who are, interacting directly with the citizens. I think about what the police officers have requested. I think about what OEM has requested. I think about what health has requested, and I think about what the fire department has requested. I think I made the comment when we were present. I said, we were utilizing a lot of different social distancing measures and technology features that weren't present prior to COVID. And we are asking employees of our city to continue their jobs, but not necessarily giving them those same resources. I feel like that's something that we need to consider strongly. And then I agree with Councilwoman Johnston. You know, a lot of these things that have been done, like with the allocation previously to schools, if we're not impacting anything and they're still able to operate with little to no impact and don't need all those funds, I think those should immediately come back to the table as those things that we should be dispersing, because we're continuously, you know, trying to evaluate and prioritize this list and with a number that may not necessarily be the most accurate. And so to me, I feel like once the original goal has been accomplished, we should, maybe unofficially, but take those funds into account as we have those to disperse, especially if the committee will have to have schools come back and present to us again. I think they should have that right, just like every other group has had, but it should be looked at as a new request and not that they have those funds to then have them taken away. I feel like it should be more those funds have been dispersed to the extent they were needed, and it'd be good to have an accounting of what that balance is at this time.
Agreed. Councilmember Gamble?
Yes, I just want to, I guess, put a bookend on this discussion as to if we need to make a motion to set a dollar amount or have a resolution to set a dollar amount of what we agree is a good number for reserve, so that we can then have our number of what we can move forward with allocations, starting with readdressing the nonprofits and the arts and where we want to go through there. So I guess for legal, is it necessary that we do a resolution for a reserve amount? And in doing that, do we, need to put a date on that? Because as of now, December 30th is the deadline that these funds need to be spent. So if we make a resolution for reserve, how would that work? Would we need to put a date on that, or what would that look like?
Well, as far as what it is you all do, you can make a motion for a reserve, but if you chose in a subsequent motion to spend the money somewhere, then you could do that. Now, I don't know as far as whether you would propose a resolution that goes to council that approves a certain amount of money for a reserve. I'm not sure what that would look like. I'd have to talk with Mary Jo more about that to see how that would be accomplished. But as far as if you're not going to send something to council, then a motion to put something in reserve is really a kind of a symbolic motion, because you can always then vote to take it out of reserve, so to speak, and spend it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I do think we'd have to look at what the legal side of creating the reserve, how to uncreate it, or is it, for lack of better words, a bit of an agreement of the committee to say we are officially, but maybe not through a resolution legally, but we are going to set aside this amount. So now this is what we have left. Let's discuss. I think that's what I hear you saying, Councilmember Gamble.
And also,
I just wasn't. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Alex.
I was just going to say, I think that if you put it into a resolution that council approves, you essentially put it out of your reach, so to speak. Okay. So that's the concern I would have. If you want to do that and you want to put it out of your reach and essentially give it back to Metro to use with its departments, you could do that. It's just you would essentially lose control over it. So.
Okay, thank you. That helps. So with that said, I guess I would propose that we, as a committee, unofficially, without a resolution, set aside $20 million for reserve or to consider at a later date, and try to address the urgent and impactful needs that we determine are still needed for COVID CARES relief in the amount of $7 million at this point going forward.
So I believe you made a motion, correct?
I'll second Councilmember Gamble's motion.
And Alex, so as we engage in discussion on that, we're saying we can make a motion of the committee. It does not mean we're sending a resolution.
Correct.
Okay. So is there any other discussion then? We've got a motion. We've got a second. Oh, I guess I need to go to my screen with hands. I'm sorry. Y'all are so polite. Edward, you still have your hand up.
I just wanted to say the way I interpret that, just so that I can state it and then I can feel better at ease. Essentially, what we're saying is we're setting an allocation target that's roughly 7 million, and we're just gonna use that as our kind of operating budget, for lack of a better term, as we evaluate the current proposals that are on the table. I think that's more what I hear, because it kind of seems like setting aside the reserve. I will just say I'm not completely in favor of having the reserve be at that number. I feel like if it's there and we haven't spent it, it just is always on the table until it's not. But I am comfortable with myself personally, and would say, I think that the committee could be comfortable with, just saying 7 million is our target for discussion. It just kind of gives us a more reasonable bite at the apple, and it allows us to keep moving forward.
Sure, and I think you mentioned, the current requests, along with as we continue to get more. I like the way you said, perhaps, an operating budget as we address the outstanding and maybe future requests.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there any other discussion? I'm looking for hands. I don't see any. All right, so not seeing any other hands, then I will go ahead and ask the committee to vote on this motion that as a group, you all have decided to set aside 20 million, and all consideration of funding at this point will be within the remaining 7.3 million. Councilmember Gamble, is that a clear understanding of your motion?
Yes.
Okay, then I will go ahead and do a voice, a roll call vote. Sarah Finley?
Yes, I'll approve. Well, let me ask for a clarification. This can be changed. This is not subject to council approval. If we think circumstances change, we can change our minds, because I am sort of inclined toward where Ed's going, but I'm fine with that as the number to operate from, is our understanding now. Whether we do it with a resolution or not is, to me, not as important.
Correct. This is not going to a resolution to council. This is, if this is fair to say, this is a committee agreement that you all are going to work within those numbers as you make future recommendations.
Yeah. On that basis, I can approve that, knowing that we can revisit as needed.
Yes, as Alex said, you are not putting this to the council and then therefore losing your flexibility as a committee. Okay. Edward Henley?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnston?
Yes.
Representative Love?
Aye.
Vonda McDaniel?
Aye.
Junauda DeBecco?
Aye.
And Councilmember Sepulveda?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. I think that maybe gives the committee the idea, as mentioned, kind of what you're working with now. So thank you all for that. Is there one particular request then that you all want to address in our time today?
Yes, I would like to, if we can go back to arts and nonprofits, and Representative Love is here. One of the questions that we had, Representative Love, maybe you can help us with the new allocation from the state, the $50 million for small businesses, focusing on minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. Does that also, how does that impact nonprofits? Are they included in that? Do we know if there are any restrictions with that? And any information you could add to that would help.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. I believe, based on my conversations with our group, that this particular supplemental employer recovery grant surge of the $50 million with a 10% set aside specifically for small businesses and minority-owned businesses that'll be run through their diversity business enterprise program through Department of General Services. It's designed to capture almost everyone that was not captured in the initial small business relief grant. If you recall, in many of our conversations with our meeting, I emphasized the fact that you had people who may have opened a business in January and had to shut down middle of March because of COVID, and they didn't qualify for the grant that was run through the Department of Revenue initially because that grant was based on persons who had a record of paying taxes from the previous year's receipts. And you also didn't include nonprofits because they did not pay any taxes. So this is a more flexible procedure which will allow for some other organizations and businesses to be able to apply for that piece. And much of this comes back because we had a lot of businesses that talk about the fact that they did not have any paperwork to demonstrate they had paid taxes before and still needed help.
And I have the press release open. It says small business owners and nonprofit organizations can apply to receive reimbursement for eligible direct expenses or costs incurred as a result of COVID-19.
I saw something about a $30,000 cap. Does that of the award? So does that mean? I mean, is there a cap on the assets of the businesses or nonprofits that apply?
The cap on there, I'm trying to see what you read.
I don't see the, in the press release, it was attached to the email that I sent, Representative Love. I don't see the definition of small business by the state. Ashley, do you remember what that was? Or maybe Representative Love, you do?
Now, I do know that one limit was supposed to be limited to small employers, less than $10 million in annual revenue, annual growth receipts.
Yeah.
Max $1,000 in expenses per business, with an additional $500 available to businesses located in low-income opportunity zones. So that may be that's the maximum amount they'll get.
Yep. But that 10 million is a higher threshold for small businesses than what we have at the Pathway Fund.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you look at, I never got a chance to share this with you all, but the initial small business relief grant, you know, it for the 28,000 businesses that they were supposed to help, some business may get $2,000, somebody got $10,000. So it was not a lot of money for these businesses, but just enough to say to the business owner, this is to help you in this downtime. And so what this is doing is similar to the conversation we had about, I think either about live music venues, where we said we want to put a cap on the amount of money so that we have more people who can get it than to say that you can get a large amount of money and we only have 3 or 4 people who can get it. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. That does help. And as Mary Jo stated, so that does open it up for hopefully if the farmers market vendors who wouldn't qualify for the small business relief that we allocated through Metro Cares would qualify under this state relief if they were over that $1 million threshold, but below that $10 million threshold. So we might be able to cover them there. So I guess when we're looking at proposals to review, Metro Arts being one as a fabric in this community, and as one that has been going on so long without any relief through this entire pandemic, and came to see us several weeks ago that we didn't address. So maybe discussing that. And also nonprofits, the smaller nonprofits, since we decided that they wouldn't be a part of the small business relief that we gave through Metro, and the smaller nonprofits, maybe under $1 million.
If I can use what we're doing at Lee Chapel example of what I would recommend, we're getting calls from people who want us to help them with rent relief. It's not wise financially for Lee Chapel to write a check for rent relief that's COVID related when I know that Judy Cummins down the street on Osage has $400,000. When I know that Lisa Hammonds at St. John has 150, and that Omari Lee at Metro General has 50,000 of COVID money, right? Because this would not be Lee Chapel's COVID money. This would be Lee Chapel's actual general fund money. And so what we've been doing is sending folks to these other resources to say, I know there's CARES Act money at the Disciples of Christ Church. I know there's COVID money at this AME church. And that has been keeping Lee Chapel's general benevolence fund money from being spent out. And so in the same way, I would say for Metro, that since we know that we have a limited amount of CARES Act money, let's direct as many nonprofits and small businesses that we know to the state fund to keep us from having to spend out what little amount we do have. And this is where I think the live music venues, this is where the symphony and other nonprofits can go ahead and apply to this fund to have some of their sales and revenues that have been decreased, at least recouped a little bit.
I agree. When going back to the nonprofits, when we're looking at the smaller nonprofits, like we did with the small businesses, I think that one concern is that the smaller nonprofits, like some of the YMCA, we got a proposal from the Family Safety Care Office of Family Safety, and they had Nashville Children's Alliance, YWCA, Nurture the Next, Tennessee Coalition of Domestic Violence, NASA, I think is another one. Some of those smaller nonprofits. Well, I guess NASA wouldn't be because they would be over the $1 million. But should we look at some kind of relief for those smaller below $1 million nonprofits that we did not include in our small business relief? I think that's what I think we should do that, and that's what I'm proposing.
One thing I would ask to make a distinguishment between is most of the funding the funding that we have been sending to nonprofits has been for services to be delivered to those impacted. It has not been for service. It has not been for expenses for the nonprofits to recoup. And this state $50 million fund does allow for the nonprofits to recoup their expenses for things like PPE for employees or customers. It does allow for, installation of, touchless, equipment to be installed in their stores or retail areas. So I think it's also important for us to determine, as we talk about anything as support for arts or nonprofits, is it for them to serve those who have been impacted, or is it for them to recoup their own costs, related to the pandemic?
That's a good point.
Just to make sure everybody's on the same page when we talk, there's many, many ways to support the organizations. Particularly when you get into nonprofits. Is it about their service provided or their costs incurred themselves?
Well, I think in the case of the nonprofits that I mentioned, as it relates to the presentation that they gave, it was in order so that they can provide more services as it relates to needs for safe, in-person training, and in regards to the domestic violence, being able to get people in their programs, needing to upgrade or improve their facilities so that they're able to bring people in safely. It was that kind of thing. So in that regard, it's something so that they can serve their clients that they're in a way that they're not able to do right now because of COVID. Would that be considered something for the agency personally, or something that would help them in assisting individuals?
Yeah, I think it actually falls into assisting the agency itself, but there's certainly an indirect connection that the agency doesn't have to spend those funds on themselves. They can serve more. So I don't want to imply that we have to split hairs. I'm just thinking about the different contracts that we've put in place for Metro services. We were very specific that those had to be for services that they would be providing. That does not imply that that has to be for this committee. I just wanted to make sure all members of the committee were on the same page when they do make any of those recommendations.
Okay. And in regards to anything that we did with Metro Arts, I think their initial proposal was for, I guess, for revenue losses in order to keep some of these venues open, and not necessarily for any individual support. But would it be prudent, and I guess I'm asking, I'm suggesting that it would be prudent that we provide funding for them for the smaller nonprofits, the under $1 million. I think we got a request today from the Music Cares group, nonprofit group of artists that are also.
Yeah.
That might be fall under what you suggesting as far as individual support, but also, I guess, these arts organizations that are in jeopardy of closing, that we might consider some support for them like we did the music venues.
Right. So we have the Metro Arts Commission request, and then what you just mentioned from Bowman Gamble is the new request from Music Cares, which is for, they call them music workers.
Okay.
They do outline what that eligibility is. It's, producers, lighting technicians, recording artists, studio technicians, stylists, the bus drivers, the talent buyers, composers, videographers, stagehands, and they say many, many others, but it gives you an idea of who, and that request was from my parents.
Oh. Is that for like lost wages? Would that not be covered with unemployment benefits?
It would have. We talked about that group before, and we've said, for those individuals, they had, when we went to individuals, we did say we thought that the increased benefit under unemployment benefited that group as well as anybody who was unemployed.
If I can add, I think one of the challenges we're all facing is that because of the slow moving action of the state, we're having to fill the gaps in. For example, our money to United Way for rent relief got to people faster than some of the state's money for nonprofits at that $150 million. Mm-hmm. And so you got folks who are still waiting for unemployment benefits, and we're unfortunately having to fill these gaps in with things like rent relief, things like this Music Cares piece.
Do we have any information from the state as far as like tracking of the applications for unemployment? Like, do they know how many people are still sitting there tapping their foot waiting? Do they keep up with that, Representative Love?
Yeah, we get an update from the state one of the unfortunate things is that it's compounded because you have some folks who have gone back to work, but have not yet received the unemployment yet. I know it doesn't make any sense at all, but that's what's going on.
I get that. And so, but we can quantify that. So we know how many people are waiting for money that they do qualify for, but that just are backlogged or whatever the terminology would be.
All right, so I'll give you an example. This reading this to you now from the week of October the 3rd. New claims, and this is from October 3rd, new claims 9,839, continued claims 125,238.
Does it break that out by county?
This is no, this is statewide. We've been asking for county data. Let me see if I can. Hold on, let me click here.
Because I know I'd gotten, some emails.
Davidson County continued week claims 20,842.
So 20,000, a little over 20,000 individuals are still waiting on those benefits that they're due back from possibly March.
Depends on when they filed, because people file different times.
I don't think that number is unfulfilled claims. It's continuing claims, like somebody who's been on unemployment and they continue to receive it week to week.
Yeah, that's continued claims.
I see. So do we know, though, people that literally have not received one penny yet that are waiting, whether they've already gone back to work? Because, I think it's my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, say I was out of work completely April and May, and I had my application in for unemployment for April and May. Here it is, October, I am back working, but doesn't the state owe me for is that the truth?
They would owe you from the initial claim if you haven't gotten it, even if you're back working.
Yes. Okay. So do we know the number of people that are owed money that they still have not received it? Not necessarily ongoing people that are receiving those weekly benefits, but people that have not received money yet that are waiting.
I don't have that data. I'd have to request that, because the site that I'm on now shows me continued claims for Davidson County and also total initial claims for this week.
I think that would be really helpful with regard to the Music Cares microgrants for the workers, just because I know that some people are waiting on that. I just don't know how many, but I also, I'm being probably, I don't know if I'm being too stingy, but I am being stingy with these CARES Act dollars. And I just, want to make sure that we're spending it in the most wise and effective way. And I don't want that duplication, but I do want to take care of, people that need to be taken care of. I just want to be very, very, very thoughtful.
Councilmember Johnston and committee, and I think one thing to note is that I believe, just from my review of the CARES Act, from the Music Cares proposal, some of the folks are talking about, I think we need to understand that they may be considered gig employees, right? So they may not be employees in the traditional sense, which means they may have challenges when it comes to traditional unemployment. And with federal unemployment ending, that extra $600 that they would now qualify for from a federal standpoint was assisting them. But the state, they're not under an insured program. So if they're truly gig workers, meaning they're independent contractors that are, they know the Nashville circuit and they're used to having shows come to Nashville every summer in droves that they're not having. I think they have a lot of challenges in terms of eligibility of other resources. And so while we might think a lot of other people are captured by unemployment, I think this group, and I can't speak to that with confidence, but I think what the goal is the goal of the proposal is to capture those that may be unable to get unemployment in the traditional sense.
And I totally get that. I was an independent contractor for years. Those people, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm pretty confident, those independent contractors are treated as small businesses and actually, to a certain extent, micro businesses. that we have in our small business, because they're a business in and of themselves. So they should be able to have access to the small business allocation that we made as an independent contractor, who, you're right, is not eligible for state unemployment. And I don't know about federal, but state unemployment benefits for sure they're not. But small business, yes.
So I'm kind of just listening to what Ed is saying. I kind of agree with you there that some of them, and maybe we need to bring them in because we haven't had a presentation by them. So maybe the point is we need to bring them in to actually talk with them and ask these questions. But I do agree that they may fall in a category or there's just where they aren't able to get really the what do you call it, the unemployment insurance that a small business would qualify for, because I do understand that the federal government opened up the unemployment insurance for small business individuals, which has never been done in the past, but they also may have fall in a different unique little, I can't figure out the word to say. So I guess it would be beneficial to have them come in and talk with them to see exactly if they have been qualifying for unemployment insurance and why, how impactful allocation from this committee would be for the organization, aside from what we're seeing in the proposal. I think that would help. But I think that we should consider, just like we did, separating the music venues from other business entities. The music artists themselves may also have some kind of unique issue where they might need to be separated out of the regular small business allocation that we've allocated. And keep in mind that since we allocated the money for the small business, the Pathway Lending has received over 175 applications for that money. I'm not sure how many of those applications fall under that micro business selection, but because this is the music artist group is so large in Nashville as Music City, this might be a separate group that we need to look at, as opposed to looping them in with the small business grants, just like we didn't loop in nonprofits with the small business grants, because that's another large component that would be taken away from that small business relief.
It's important to note also that they are eligible for the rent, mortgage, and utility relief through United Way, just as individuals that are needing that help from people, from being affected by COVID. Again, outreach and education on what's available out there, because there's so much out there that I think people they know that it's out there, but they don't know where to go. And there's multiple places to go, obviously. So I don't know how to have a single message or a single website or a single whatever, just to put everything in one spot for people, because there's a ton of support out there.
Can I say that, and I'm sorry to interrupt because I know I'm not in the queue, but to Councilwoman Johnston's point, I had suggested to I guess Mary Jo and Ashley, the mayor's office, that they consider if the mayor's office couldn't establish that kind of marketing communications campaign, that we consider hiring someone to do that, because that is a need. I mean, we keep coming back to that. We keep coming back to there is not a centralized place to communicate all of the relief that our committee has done, or that the Metro Cares has available for individuals, whether it's rent assistance, food assistance, small business. We need a centralized website page, a marketing campaign, advertising on radio, newspaper, whatever it is, social media. But it needs to be an organized campaign around this. And I don't know if that's something that we can designate out of CARES funding, or if it's something that needs to come out of the mayor's office. But we keep coming back to that. And Mary Jo, I don't know if maybe you can tell us, I guess, the legalities of what we can do, because that looks like there's a need there that we need to do.
Yeah, Ashley's going to step in and talk just a little bit about what they've been putting together from communication.
Yeah, so if the email I just sent you guys that had the small business link, I also included the updated version Katie worked on it yesterday with the website team on the Safe Nashville, the assistance. If you look, there's a graphic they just created. They're going to do some more rollout, which she'll share with you all. But there is a link now. It did clean up where the links are, and it has all 4 of the things right in a row of where to go with a direct link. Because you're absolutely right, that people don't know where to go. And so they're working to make that a little bit simpler. And then Ashley's working on a couple other things. And so as soon as that's ready to go, we'll share it. But they did listen to you guys, and they did put it all on one website. So it has a link for everything, for all the aid that you guys have distributed. And it also goes back to all the different types of aid that were already available that weren't from Metro, but maybe from the state or from other nonprofits that were doing work. So that way people could find everything in one central place.
So are they doing anything so that people know to go to their website? I mean, you're telling us, but how will the 500,000 people who live in Davidson County know to go to that website?
I don't have an answer, but I'll ask you that.
Mary Jo, Ashley, can we ask for a toolkit, a comms toolkit, be it one Dropbox where we put all of the graphics that these organizations are sending out to us that we all could have access to, and that the rest of the council members could have access to, so we could make sure we have everything in one place so we could share that in the meantime while these websites are being worked on.
Just a reminder, everybody, if you're not on video, to identify yourself before you speak. Thanks.
Sorry, it's Councilwoman Sandra Sepulveda that just asked all that. But I think a toolkit would be very helpful. And then Mary Jo, just based on our time and for the next meeting, can we ask the musicians that submitted that request that to come in and speak to us?
Yes, so I've got for next meeting, I've got Farmers Market and Music Cares to have them come back. Is there anything else? Anybody else?
I would like to go on it. I'm sorry. I would like to go on a motion for the Metro Arts support. It would be helpful to kind of know that the impact of the $1 million for arts organizations under $1 million in Davidson County, how much that impact would be before, I guess, actually making it. 38 organizations. I just got the information. So that allocating $1 million to the Metro Arts to support arts organizations that are hanging on by a thread in Nashville. I could get a list of those organizations, but I would like to motion that we allocate that to support the 38 arts organizations in Nashville under $1 million for CARES relief funding.
I'll second to start the conversation. Do we want it just for the arts, or do we want it for nonprofits in general? Or do we want that to the nonprofits to be a separate thing, or do we want to put it all together?
Yeah, I'm suggesting separate, because I think the arts, the music artists group is a nonprofit that probably will go in the nonprofit arena, or we can separate them and do a separate nonprofit. But I'm thinking the arts is separate, not as a part of the nonprofits group. because I think unless that includes the zoo and you know, other nonprofits, I think it would be a separate allocation.
You would, things like the zoo probably wouldn't, because aren't you're saying under $1 million?
Right.
Yeah, so the zoo, those
Yeah, you're right.
you know, wouldn't qualify. But I just, if we separate it, which I'm not opposed to separating it, but we might be causing a situation where there could be duplication, where the arts could have applied for the arts one and then go to a regular nonprofit allocation that I'm assuming we're going to make. So do we just want to do a bigger allocation for nonprofits and segregate out of that larger allocation money specifically for arts? And then that way it's one resolution and it's all together. Does that am I communicating that properly at all?
It makes sense, but I guess it depends on how much is the allocation, because once you open it up, you know, there are a lot of nonprofits. I think United Way gave already to over 100 of them, but they gave $3.5 million to nonprofits. So I guess if you open it up to all nonprofits, it's going to, I mean, I think we probably have to do some more research to consider, you know, how that would work, because the nonprofits that received funding from United Way, most of them were under that $1 million threshold, but they were all kinds of nonprofits that, you know, that did all kinds of things. So I don't know. I guess specifically, I'm talking about the arts at this point.
Yeah, one thing that might. Sorry, I can't see the hands. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sarah. Yeah, I was just going to say one thing that would be helpful to me is, I mean, I do feel like that we want to make a conscious effort to support the arts and the artists because they are such a big part of our economy and our city's welfare. But if we were to allocate the $1 million to the Metro Arts Commission, I'm not exactly sure who all they would be, how they would propose allocating that. So it might be helpful to understand that so that we know exactly what their scope would be in terms of the types of organizations they would normally support with that request, because that's something I'm not clear on. And I don't think we'd want to lump them in with other nonprofits and then actually have the organizations that we were trying to, you know, target not be eligible. So I'm just not even sure what they would do with that money. And maybe someone else is, but I don't think they gave us that level of specificity, at least in the letter that I saw.
So
I agree.
Yeah. So would it, instead of could we request that next meeting, the Metro Arts Commission come and talk to us? And then that way we can make a more informed decision versus moving on this particular motion. Mary Jo?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the questions you all raised are really helpful to make sure that if we're going to do a resolution, we get it right the first time, and that we know who it's including, who it might be missing. So I certainly think that that's a good idea.
So
go ahead.
Sorry, so we're going to hear from Metro Arts. Hopefully, I mean, assuming they say yes, they will come talk to us. So we're going to hear from the Metro Arts Commission and then the Music Cares people as well to answer some questions about the specific workers and their needs. Mm-hmm. Did I hear that right? Okay.
Yeah, so Market, Music Cares, and Metro Arts to come back for our next meeting.
Perfect.
Councilmember Gamble, have you withdrawn that motion?
Yes, I will draw the motion for now. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I've got two hands, Edward and Councilmember Sepulveda. Want to go ahead, Edward? Oh, and Councilmember Sepulveda took hers down. Go ahead, Edward. You're still on mute, though. There you go. Oh, and you took it down. Okay.
Yeah, no, my hand was just still up.
Okay. All right. Trying to check hands. All right. Well, we are at 1:45, so we're past time, but I think we have a plan and a path. I've got that next week we will bring back both kind of in a related conversation for clarity, the representative from Music Cares, as well as Metro Arts Commission. And then we'll also have the folks from Farmers Market come back, and that will help us clarify the request for small businesses, for individuals, and for nonprofits that are kind of impacted in that arena. Is there anything else? Sarah, I know you just came off mute. Question, comment?
Just a note, I put a request in to the state to give me the numbers of folks in Davidson County who have not gotten any unemployment payments.
That'll be helpful. Thank you for that.
This is Councilwoman Sepulveda. Can I ask one last thing? If we have heard back from the state comptroller on the review for our CARES Act funding?
We have. So had a visit with them this morning. They will be sharing their report. I don't want to get in front of that, but it's all good news.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still working on a website or a centralized location, correct? For information. Is that, I just kind of want to circle back to that because it's so important.
Ashley has sent that link out.
Yeah, check your email on that one. The other thing, there's going to be an update too. I'm trying to get it wrapped up this week, obviously. And so as soon as I can get that done, that's my goal. And then also for Councilwoman Gamble and Sepulveda, I did send in a request to our communications office to ask for the toolkit and a centralized place for you guys.
This is Councilwoman Sepulveda. I'm sorry, that was a little hard to hear. I heard that you made a request to comms.
Yeah, actually, sorry, it's my fault. Yes, I turned in the request for the toolkit and then also to ask if we kind of add things in for you.
Got it. Thank you.
In advance of next week, before we close here today, is there specific information? We talked about with Farmers Market, there was some specific information. We wanted to know maybe by their vendors who's received PPP, who received state funding, and then who would be eligible under the new state funding. Was there any other request for information so that they come with the information that we might be asking for Music Cares, Arts, or Farmers Market?
This is Councilwoman Sepulveda. I think for Music Cares, I think Councilwoman Johnston was asking if their employees or people had applied for the rent, mortgage, and utility relief or any other unemployment, correct?
That's correct.
Got it. Okay.
Well, and here's another question. Do we need to verify with Pathway for the $2 million that we allocated for small business that they are accepting applications from independent contractors with 1099s who aren't necessarily, in court businesses with like a brick and mortar, but are businesses themselves? Can we just make sure that they are eligible for that? That would be, I think, helpful as well. If not just from an education perspective, to let people know that if they are an independent contractor, they can apply.
Yeah, I'm happy to reach out to Pathway and ask that question. And I would ask it in the sense of independent contractors. Are they eligible for the small business or micro business grants? And I'll get an answer on that from Pathway.
If they are not, I don't want to open this discussion right now, but maybe for next week, if they are not eligible, is it prudent for us to maybe open it up to them because they are businesses for all intents and purposes? So this is something for everyone to kind of mull over this next week if it's not a possibility or if they aren't already included in that eligibility.
Yep, we'll get clarification on that because we did open it up to sole proprietors so that they could use their federal tax return. So I know that Pathway will be able to answer that for us. Is there anything else? I have just one item before we adjourn, but is anybody else? Questions, comments? I just want to say thank you to Ashley. For those that don't know, we won't have her at our meeting next week. I know I personally will miss her, but I know all that you've done for the committee, Ashley. I think you'll be missed by more than just me.
We'll miss you.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley.
Congratulations, Ashley. Thank you for all of your hard work and support.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'll miss you guys too.
All right, I guess that,
Again, this is Harold Love. Thank you for your work also.
Thank you, Ashley.
all right. 1:51, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.